Nice that Al Roker gave him that leeway to not question what he was actually saying because it didn't make sense. A new ABC News Ipsos poll finds 48% of voters believe former President Trump should suspend his campaign now after his indictment by the Manhattan DA. Joining me right now to take on all of these politics issues this morning, former Speaker of the House, former Georgia Congressman, Fox News contributor, and the author of Defeating Big Government Socialism, Saving America's Future. Newt Gingrich is here. Newt, it's great to see you. Welcome.
It's good to be with you. And there's a lot going on.
So I guess, so much going on. I want to get your take on all of it, Newt. I mean, you were able to get Bill Clinton to come to the middle. And you were able to work with Democrats. And that time also felt like it was so divisive. But nothing has been as divisive as what we've been seeing these last couple of years. First, take on Joe Biden saying that he's going to run, but he doesn't want to commit to it yet in an official way. What's that about, Newt?
Well, I mean, who knows? It could be, if it was rational and thought out, it could be because once you become an official candidate, you come under Federal Election Commission rules, and you have a whole different set of problems. For example, if you fly Air Force One into a rally somewhere, that all gets charged to your presidential campaign. But if you're not yet a candidate, that can be an official trip. So there are a lot of practical reasons. If you're the incumbent, running as late as possible is a perfectly rational behavior. And of course, he's getting to tease people, and he's getting to remind his own party that he's the most formidable Democrat. And I think that's the first key. You have to win your party's nomination to get to the general election. As of right now, if Biden is prepared to run again, I think he will be the nominee, and I don't think there's much any Democrat could do to stop him.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of pushback for him running again because of these policies. The policies have resulted in bad outcomes, and he doesn't want to talk about it, Newt. Reporters were grilling White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre yesterday on why the president rarely takes any questions from the press. Listen to what she said. It's incredible. Watch.
Is the administration trying to protect the president from our questions? Please, answer that question.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So why the lack of any interaction in a formal setting to have a press conference?
I mean, the president takes shouty questions.
But we haven't had that opportunity in quite some time.
So I'll say this. It is also unprecedented that a president takes as many shouted questions as this president has. And he has.
I have no idea what she's talking about. I mean, like, when you see the big group of press shouting questions at the president, she says that's answering questions?
No, look, she doesn't have any idea what she's talking about either. So you two are even.
Right.
The fact is, her job is to stand up there and take the shots and smile. And the truth is, it doesn't matter. I mean, the news media doesn't like to hear this. But the fact is, if Joe Biden doesn't have another press conference and he gets nominated, he's the Democratic nominee. That's his call, not anybody else's. Dave Gergen told me one time, after years of serving both Democratic and Republican presidents, that the biggest mistake they made was allowing the news media to decide what their agenda was. He said the truth is, in between elections, we get to decide the agenda. We're the elected officials. And I think Biden has a particular approach. Now, the problem for Biden is that the most recent poll shows only 1/3 of the country thinks he ought to be reelected. That's beginning to get into a dangerous area where somebody who had enough courage could run in the early primaries and potentially really be a spoiler. Remember, in 1968, Lyndon Johnson looked inevitable until Gene McCarthy did very, very well in New Hampshire, and 20 days later, Johnson withdrew from the race. So you can't tell. I mean, if the economy continues to be very weak, if the problems we have around the world continue to grow, if the southern border stays open, if we continue to have the level of crime we have, you can imagine a circumstance where Biden would face a really serious opponent in the Democratic primary, and then he'd be in a different business.
Well, look, Biden has no press conferences scheduled during his trip to Ireland this week, Newt. So he is sticking to his guns, and he's going to do what he wants regardless. Newt, one of the most striking parts of this administration for me has been this soft approach to China. We all know what communist China is up to, but this White House refuses to push back in any aggressive way. They keep saying the same thing. We do not seek conflict with China.
Well, I remember that between Hunter Biden's activities and the degree to which the Chinese communists financed the Biden centers, both at the University of Delaware and the University of Pennsylvania, and the fact that the Secretary of State actually ran the Penn Biden Center, which the Chinese had funded, there are a lot of good reasons for the Biden team to be relatively pleasant about China. They've had a good relationship. It's been very profitable. Forget things like the diamond that was given to Hunter Biden by a Chinese billionaire. We recently saw a $3 million check that came out of a Chinese company to 3 of the Bidens. So, they've got a lot of very nice, warm ties to China. And remember, also, this is a very left-wing administration, the most left-wing administration in American history. They don't believe in American exceptionalism. They don't believe in a strong America. When they see, for example, Brazil and China sign a deal for soybeans to be paid for in Chinese yuan rather than American dollars, they're not affected because they don't think the dollar should be the dominant monetary policy in the world. So you have to start with the idea that this is a very left-wing, very weak America, very soft on our opponents kind of administration. And that's a real problem for them. It's a huge problem for America because they're presiding over our decline as a country.
That's right. That is exactly right. That's what we were talking with Mark Penn about. He's got that op-ed from last week, which I thought was spot on. Meanwhile, with all of this in plain sight, this influence peddling that we know from Hunter Biden's deals, you've got the Democrats attacking Trump again. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan announced that he's doing a hearing in New York City next week to question the policies of the Manhattan DA. And Bragg's office is pushing back, saying, don't be fooled, the House GOP is coming to the safest big city in America for a political stunt. But, Newt, this is only one of what we are understanding to be more cases against Trump. There was a text that was collected from Hunter Biden's lawyer who said, oh, if you miss this Trump indictment, don't worry, there are 3 others behind it.
Look, I think you have to recognize that the real issue here is that the left and the establishment are terrified of Donald Trump. They're going to do anything they can to destroy him. The constant bombardment has clearly had an effect. It may not have had a big enough effect to stop him from being the nominee. And the question is, if Trump can win the nomination, can he then pivot and make a case that Biden is so incompetent, that the danger to the country is so great, that even though you may or may not like Trump personally, you know his policies are radically better for America than the policies of Joe Biden. And I think that's the gamble the Trump people are taking. But the left is doing, look, we are now a lawless country. What Bragg did, the district attorney in New York did, was outside the law. It is totally irrational. It is an act of political vengeance. But you also saw this in Wisconsin, where the left bought a Supreme Court seat. I mean, when billionaires from around the country pour millions of dollars in, they outspent the Republicans by 6 or 7 to 1. Fact is, these are purchased judges. They're no longer involved in the rule of law.
How disturbing, how very disturbing all of this is. Newt, thanks very much for talking with me about it. We hope to see you soon. We so appreciate your time. Newt Gingrich.